Let's rank The Grinch's The Cat in the Hat. Watching these original Grinch shorts have brought me a weird insight into the larger Dr. Seussiverse. So the Grinch and the Cat exist in the same world with the Who's. On top of Horton's Speck, which takes place in the larger world, which also contains the Lorax. Ya following? And the Grinch doesn't exist as an individual being. No, he exists as a larger Grinch cult, complete with a Grinch oath. And since the last time we saw him trying to terrorize the Who's on Halloween night, the Grinch has also become a master inventor, rivaling that of even Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Now putting all that aside, this is probably the most ambitious crossover in history. It's a really cute clash of Dr. Seuss's biggest characters, and it does a really good job at staying true to both of them. Now, where is my Cat v. Grinch v. Sam I Am movie? It gets the 23rd spot, between the original Grinch and the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. Bye. Let's rank How the Grinch Stole Christmas, a movie I have actively avoided my entire life because it looked dirty and desaturated. This movie is better than I expected. I like that the movie played with the topic of misguided religious following alongside the topic of consumerism. I also appreciate that the creative team tried to create a surreal world that matched the surreal comedy, even if it feels like a muddy set 99.9% of the time. But by far, the best part of the movie is the Grinch himself. Jim Carrey does an amazing job acting through all that makeup, and I appreciate that they took the character in a new direction. This Grinch is not the smooth, cunning Grinch of the original, but more of a buffoon, and I appreciate that they tried to do something new with the character, even if it gets a little grating after a while. I especially enjoyed the Grinch's affinity for crazy inventing like we saw in the later Grinch shorts. But why did the Grinch need a backstory? Especially one with a love interest of all things. Still, it's not terrible. In fact, it gets the 23rd spot, in between the original Grinch and the Grinch's The Cat in the Hat. Bye. Let's rank The Grinch. This is just Despicable Me with a new texture pack, using the same boring design used by every other Illumination picture. Gone is any commentary about consumerism or the cult-like habits of organized religion in favor for the same friendship is magic moral used by every other generic kids film. It's not just lazy, it's insulting. Kids can handle more complex ideas than friendship good, family good, farts funny. Using the same PC formula ignores kids who have trouble making friends, who have family issues. Not to mention that kids need to be introduced to complex ideas like death, sadness, anger, to learn how to properly handle them and develop fully into adulthood. If you want your kid to turn into a fragile cookie cutter adult, then please show them these films. But if you care about your kid at all, stay far away and put on a Pixar movie instead. This goes straight to the bottom under Rambo 3. May I never have to watch this movie again. Bye. Let's rank The Grinch Musical. Why does this exist? I appreciate that it tries to do some new things, like having an older version of Max be the narrator, but it never does anything with it. Visually, it's about what you'd expect, but the Grinch has feathers for some reason, but hey, I can deal. The acting feels, for lack of a better word, gross. Every line uttered feels so offbeat and uncoordinated. And this may be because they try to rhyme. Sometimes. Oftentimes, it feels like the dialogue is building up for it to rhyme and then it just decides not to, and it's really off-putting for you as the viewer. But maybe the discomfort that I feel comes from the fact that not a single joke lands. But by far the biggest sin here is the music. Usually a musical, no matter how poor, has at least one song that manages to worm its way into your brain. But not here. Not a single one of the original songs in this musical is memorable in any way, shape, or form. And that is why it gets the 44th spot, in between Saw 4 and Borat. Bye. Let's rank Krampus. While it may not appear so, this is exactly like any other holiday movie. It's a short little story about a family learning the true meaning of Christmas. Only this time, it ditches the Coca-Cola shill in favor of a murderous goat demon. This is definitely more of a comedy than a straight horror film, with a great sense of humor executed by a wonderful cast. The special effects do their fair share of the heavy lifting though. Both practical and CGI are way better than they have any right to be. From the creepy Jack-in-the-Box to the killer cookies, it all looks pretty great. I think the use of the advent calendar as a framing device was really clever. And the use of dissonance in the score of the Christmas Day scene is a great way of telling the audience that something's not quite right. But by far the best part of this film is the flashback sequence that is completely animated, making me wish that the whole picture was in this faux claymation. Still, this is exactly what I want my horror films to be, an avenue for fun and creative ideas. So it gets the 12th spot, in between RoboCop and Batman. Bye. Let's rank The Santa Claus. This is such a cute little film. Admittedly, the world building is a little odd, but a million other people have already covered the logistics of the Santa Claus. If you want a good video on it, let me recommend one of the recent episodes of Mr. Sunday Movies' Caravan of Garbage. Really solid. Now what I will say is it's a classic for a reason. Despite all odds, Tim Allen makes a terrific Santa Claus in this movie and still provides some legitimate laughs. Now the effects are extremely dated, but the story's so charming you don't really muster enough energy to care. I have come to the conclusion that I am getting soft, as I was even close to shedding a tear at the end there. But I didn't, to be clear, because I'm a big old manly man. It gets the 14th spot, in between Batman and the Black Panther. Bye. Let's rank Santa Claus 2. The oddly high quality of Tim Allen's Santa Claus continues. I kind of struggle with this movie a little bit, because there are a lot of elements that improve on the original. I think the A-plot with Scott trying to find a wife is actually really cute and well written. That paired with Scott trying to handle the fact that Charlie's acting out makes for a really engaging movie. Heck, even Comet feels more fleshed out. But then you have a weird Nazi toy Santa that really throws everything off. Look, I get it. The main plot is pretty dull for little kids, so they wanted to add something that shone a little brighter when it came to slapstick. But I truly feel it was to the movie's detriment. Personally, I feel that the time constraint and the magic cap were high enough stakes on their own. I would have taken the entire North Pole plot and just plucked it out. That being said, it's still a cute little holiday film that I wouldn't mind revisiting in the future. So it gets the 19th spot, in between Saw 6 and Saw. Bye. Let's rank Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Well, I guess I knew they couldn't all be winners, but man is this a stinker. It takes an hour for anything interesting to happen, and it nearly had me in tears of boredom. The base idea of Jack Frost wanting to steal Christmas in a It's a Wonderful Lifestyle adventure where Scott has to rediscover the meaning of Christmas is actually a really cool idea. But it's meddled with all this garbage like the in-laws and the pregnancy and the bad Canada jokes. And where the heck is Bernard? He's like the best part of these movies. All this excess mess reduces the main idea of the escape clause to a 10-minute sequence of nothing. When Scott gets his powers back, he acts like he's been gone for days, but based on what we've seen in the movie, he could only have been out of commission for a few hours. The struggle to fix this weird alt-world Flashpoint Christmas should have been the entire movie. And Jack gets defeated by a hug? What a loser! It gets the 46th spot. In between Halloween is Grinch Night and Saw 4. Bye. Let's rank The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't think anybody is arguing that this is a beautifully unique film with great characters and designs backed by spectacular music. But this film recently garnered some attention because people realized that it was a film about cultural appropriation. While not untrue, this film is more of a movie about cultural appreciation. Let me explain. True, Jack initially tries to take Christmas and make it his own without making any real efforts to understand the culture around it. But when everything goes wrong, Jack not only rediscovers his own identity, but a respect for the holiday, which allows the culture to be appreciated by a whole new group of people. And it's that spreading of the Christmas cheer that makes this movie a Christmas movie, not a Halloween movie. Fight me. It gets the 3rd spot, in between Hamilton and Knives Out. Merry Witchmas, everyone, and Happy Yule. Let's rank Wonder Woman. It's insane that it took us until 2017 to get a Wonder Woman movie. And for a long wait, we got one that was mostly good. The first 2 acts of this movie are a wonderful fish-out-of-water tale that focuses on important character moments. And while the God-Killer twist is painfully telegraphed at times, it doesn't take away from the great narrative and brilliant performances. But then this movie tries to have its cake and eat it too. While it mostly focuses on Diana's journey of realization that humanity is flawed for both better and for poor, and that the world is more gray than the monochrome version that she was taught of as a child. But then it says, psych!
Aries was here the whole time and he has a silly mustache!
As of writing this, Patty Jenkins announced that the muddy CGI climax of this film was actually pushed by Warner Bros. And was supposed to be a lot smaller. And this makes a lot more sense given the rest of the film. Luckily, what comes before greatly outshines this dud of a finale. But still, it stops this movie from being as great as it could have been. So, it gets the 7th spot, in between First Blood and The Crow. Merry Christmas. Let's rank Wonder Woman 1984. Looks like Patty's been spending some time in Sam Raimi's pantry. Cause this movie's got some corn in it. And we're not talking tight cobbed corn, we're talking messy cream corn. Like a cat version of Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, complete with bad CGI. Or a goofy wish-upon-stone MacGuffin. But by far the best is Wonder Woman riding a bazooka charge. Yeah! But this sloppy corn leaves you with a lot more questions than answers. Like the fact that Wonder Woman can turn things invisible now? Glad that'll never come into play again. And is no one gonna talk about the fact that Steve straight up possesses a guy and steals his body? Because everybody in the movie seems totally okay with it. Look, there's a lot to like in this film, but a script makes or breaks a movie. Unfortunately, this one's very cluttered, especially when compared to the first film. So I have to put it at the 20th spot, in between Rambo and Saw 6. Bye. Let's rank Soul. Now this movie feels like what Inside Out should have been. It has some of the best style that Disney's ever produced, both visually and musically. It definitely has a few tropes that don't need to be there. Person in animal body. But it still delivers an emotional punch. Admittedly, I'm a little bit more sensitive to the subject matter as I've struggled with my own mortality for a long time, but the end of this movie had me a mess. As the mess that is 2020 has kept a lot of us from living our ideal lives, it's good to have a reminder that life isn't what you do, but how you do it. Take notes, Illumination! This is how you make a kids movie. It gets the 8th spot, in between Wonder Woman and The Crow. Now excuse me while I call my mom. Let's rank Monster Hunter. I just want to preface this by saying that I know absolutely nothing about the game series that this is based on, so I'm treating it as a self-contained story. Woo! That is rough. First time in a movie theater in over 9 months, and this is what I had to watch? Let's start with the acting. It sucks. Milla cannot act to save her life. I have no idea how she managed to star in 6 Resident Evil movies and still cultivate a fan base. It's not just her though, everybody's acting is rough, with the exception of maybe Ron Perlman, but he's barely in the thing. The script is juvenile as well. There's absolutely no tension, because whenever a new element is introduced, it is used to solve the problem presented immediately after. Nothing is left to linger, and that combined with a protagonist that survives like 1,000,000 vehicle crashes with no lasting effects, leaves you with a movie with no stakes. Sony, you better step your game up if you're trying to make a God of War movie. I'm watching you. It gets the 52nd spot, in between Saw 4 and The Grinch musical. Happy New Year, everybody.
He's easy, breezy, beautiful. Might even unbox a vegetable. He's who likes Stovetop. He's who likes Stovetop.